Hey everybody, 8-Bit Josh here, and welcome back to Aurora Park. Alrighty, so I know it's been a while since the last episode. Had some family stuff to take care of. Had a death in the family, which is, it's really sad, but had to take time to, be with the family and everything. So that's why there hasn't been a video for a while. But in this episode, we are working on the other side of the Main Street area. And so I'm going to be building, this building here is just going to be like an information building. And then we have a couple other facade buildings, which somebody pointed out in the comments in the last episode. They're like, I think that the word you're looking for is facade, which, yeah, that's a good description of what these buildings are that don't actually do anything. But yeah, so I was trying a few different things as far as, trying to make the buildings look more unique from each other. So I've used a lot more scenery pieces in these buildings. And like you see here, like that piece I'm working with there, that's a scenery piece really. And, I was just trying to take them and like that right there, that's like a, I don't know, sci-fi cargo kind of box of some kind. So this was really an experiment with taking things that really aren't meant to be, for buildings. They're just meant to be scenery pieces. And I think it works out pretty well. I'm pretty happy with the way this building here and then the next building you'll see us working on in this episode. But yeah, so here, kind of using the same sort of, I don't know what you call those, like vent pieces, whatever, which, I use them a lot in the buildings, but I think they're really cool and they're, kind of versatile and things like that. But yeah, another thing I try with this building, and so here you can see I used another scenery piece to kind of form the walls, I guess, of the building here, just to make it, like I said, just to make it look different, because I don't want to use like the metal alloy walls that I use for almost all these buildings. They're really cool looking and, they look like cool pieces of metal, but I don't want every building to look that way. So that's kind of why, that's why I'm doing it this way. But one of the things that you'll see here shortly that I start doing, well, here's using more the cables and the kind of pipes and adding like the sparks special effects just to give it that extra little sci-fi touch. But one of the things I do in this episode that I've never really tried before, I took some like neon signs and I actually sync them into the building, and it gives it just a cool little extra like little touch of sci-fi. So you'll see that coming up in a little bit. And then this is just, working on, more a roof, basically. That's all this is. Some of the buildings aren't gonna have like, very exciting roofs, I guess, roofs. Some of them will, if they're the taller ones probably won't have, really complicated looking detailed roofs. This one I thought needed to have a little bit more on top. So I added these kind of little, those, I don't know what those pieces are called, but, well, this piece here is actually the front of a shop. But I think it makes cool like sides of buildings or like even just the tops of buildings. But like the next building, that's right next to this one, it just has a simple flat roof. Oh, and then this is actually a gun turret, and I sunk it into the building to try to make it look like, I guess, like antenna kind of sticking up. So I do that, and then I also take the actual like cables there, and I kind of make little more kind of smaller type antenna, if you will. So, just trying to make trying to make the roof a little bit more detailed. But here you see, this is where I take the neon signs and I just kind of sink them in just enough to, so they look like they're part of the building. They're not really sticking out. And it's cool, like at nighttime, you'll see, you know, a few times throughout the video where I switch it to night view just to get a better idea of how it's gonna look. So like these scenery pieces have this kind of yellow paint on it. So I was like, oh, well, what if I just take these neon signs and kind of make them look like, make it look like it's part of the building like that. And I think it's a cool effect. And you'll see, like I said, you'll see a few times I switch it to night view just so you can kind of see how that looks. And it's a cool effect. So I'm probably going to use that quite a bit, I think, throughout this park, just because it's, I don't know, I just think it's really cool. I might go back to some of the buildings across the street from the last couple episodes and maybe just add some of these like neon signs just to give it that extra little touch, since I didn't think of it until just now. Well, not just now as I'm talking, but as I was recording. And yeah, so here, you know, I'm finishing up with the you know, the neon signs here, and just kind of finishing up the you know, so the last little, I guess, finishing touches, if you will, for this building. We're gonna be moving on to the next building, which is not gonna be a functional building. You know, it's like this one has the information booth in it. The next one is purely just a facade, as I learned in the last episode. But there you go. It's like kind of a quick shot of it at night with the neon signs, and it looks pretty cool, I think. And then this building is, I feel like it has more of like almost like an office building kind of look to it. So I still add a bunch of, you know, the sci-fi scenery. And you may recall, like in, I don't know, one of the last few episodes, I was talking about glass in this game and how there isn't really glass. There isn't glass in the way that it's transparent. There are a few pieces here and there that are transparent, but these wall pieces, these glass walls are not transparent actually. But they still look really nice, and they're, you know, they're a good wall set. But I thought that they would look different with that pieces, and you know, like as I said, I'll be adding a bunch of, you know, different sci-fi pieces. I'm a big fan of this piece in particular here, and I like using it. I used it in one of the other buildings across the street from this, and I just kind of put them around the corners, and I think I don't know, it adds a cool little effect to the buildings. And then here I was like, oh, you know, instead of like trying to place all these individually, which would take forever, I'll just copy the group of them and, you know, just kind of paste them. And it's actually a lot easier method of building is to just, you know, copy your wall pieces with the scenery already on them, and then that way you don't have to place each individual scenery piece over the entire building. But normally I don't do that. Normally I can't do that because I don't really know what the finished you know, design is going to be. You know, if I talk about this every episode, so if it's boring you, I apologize. But you know, like I said, I have basics idea about what I'm doing when I start building, but I usually don't know what the, you know, end design or the final design is going to be. So I can't, you know, design like a wall piece with all the pieces of scenery and then just copy and then, you know, copy and paste and be done with it. It's a lot of times is just, you know, kind of trial and error of me trying to figure out what exactly I want to put on the building. Even like right here, you can see I'm just like looking around trying to figure out what I want to put on the top of it. All right, so guess it's that time of the episode where I will go through all your comments from the last episode. all 4 of you that commented. And even though it's not a high number of people, I still appreciate every single comment. Especially when they're, you know, suggestions and maybe things you'd like to see, because, you know, that helps me out as well. You know, maybe I don't have, you know, an idea about what I want to do in a certain area or section of the park. So if you leave suggestions, it's, you know, it's very much appreciated. But see, first comment was from an Ocean Man, and he says, I really like the sidewalk idea. Looks really aesthetically pleasing. I can't wait to use this technique in my own park. Would have never thought of it on my own. Thanks, and keep up the awesome work. Well, thanks, in Ocean Man. And I'm glad that, you know, I was able to help you out and, you know, give you an idea about what you can use in your own park. Yeah, using the flat roof pieces is a very, very good technique for, you know, creating kind of custom sidewalks and just custom like pathways in general. Because like I said, you know, in the last episode, the paths are, they're very finicky, and it's hard to make them, you know, look exactly the way you want. And, you know, if you want to create like a really nice, you know, just kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? Like if you want to create like a, you know, really cool curved pathways or like plazas, it's, you know, it's kind of hard to make that happen with the pathways and the way that they work in this game. So if you take flat roof pieces and you just sink them down into the ground just low enough to where they're, you know, still visible, but they're not like sticking up too high where it looks like the guests are, you know, their feet are being cut off as they're walking. So yeah, I'm glad that that little trick helped you out, and, you know, maybe I'll get to see the park you're making sometime. And then let's see, next comment was from Ryder, and this person says, nice to see the first ride up and running. Also think you made a good decision by changing the paths. Fits better with the buildings. I agree. I think, you know, the shiny kind of the shiny black pathways are they look cool, and it's cool how they reflect a little bit. But, you know, as I was saying, like, as I kind of started building up the, you know, the main street, I didn't really think it fit with the style that, you know, it kind of started developing with the main street. And plus the, you know, the pavement texture it's really nice. It's, you know, super detailed, and it looks like actual pavement to my eyes. So, you know, it's a cool path. I think that was added, I know that it's the same texture as the go-kart track, which the go-karts came out in the summer update. I don't remember if that's when the pavement paths came out as well. That might have been after that. But anyway, yeah, it's a good texture to use. And then Poofy Gaming, he says that area with the first ride fits in perfectly. You're really doing an amazing job here. I can't wait to see what the next episode will bring. I also think you're looking for the word facade, which is a fairly known trick in movies and theme parks. I'm also wondering, do people that live, quote unquote, in this place have any form of transportation? Are there cars, bikes, saucers parked on the side? Well, thanks again, Poofy, for the lovely comment. Hopefully this next episode, you know, lives up to the, you know, what you've been looking forward to. And then, yes, I talked about this earlier in the episode, facade. That is definitely the word I was searching for in the last episode when I was talking about buildings that are really just scenery pieces. As far as transportation goes, you know, in our sort of made up little city, I didn't really think about that too much. There isn't a lot of transportation I should say pre-made transportation scenery items. There is in the sci-fi section. I use a couple pieces in this little alley that I'm making actually. But there are pieces where you can make your own kind of like little spaceships. There's also like this piece here. It's very much, I think it was very much inspired by the AT-AT walkers from Star Wars. But you can make your own kind of like little sci-fi walker vehicle. But yeah, so you know, that's what's in the game. Like I said, there aren't like bicycles or, you know, cars. You can make your own cars. There's, you know, the pieces exist, especially with the Back to the Future, Monsters, and Knight Rider DLCs that came out a few months back. You can actually, you know, you can make your own vehicles, and they're really nice parts. But I didn't really think about that too much for this park, you know, as far as adding in like, you know, transportation that would look like, you know, like it's being used. We may add like some spaceships or something that look like they're parked in another area of the park, perhaps the next area of the park we're going to be working on after the main street. I don't know, hint hint maybe, but I don't want to give too much away about that just yet. So yeah, that's the situation with transportation in Planet Coaster. So again, thanks so much, Poofy, for the compliment. Really appreciate that. And then last but definitely not least, Let 'Em Come In It. He says, ah yes, taking on a slightly Blade Runner-ish feel. The dystopian future kind of streets here. Can't wait to see what it looks like at night, man. Well, I'm glad the, you know, the sort of Blade Runner inspired feel and look of this area is, you know, coming to fruition a little bit. I think once it's all said and done and everything is together, it'll definitely look more Blade Runner-ish. So glad that it's, you know, taken on that feel. And then yeah, there's, you know, I had excuse me, earlier in the episode had a quick nighttime look at the first building, and then I believe there's another nighttime look at the end of this video. But yeah, so you know, that's it for the comments on the last episode. So be sure you guys are you know, leaving your comments and you know, any suggestions or feedback you may have, because it's always appreciated, and I always you know, take it to heart. And if it's, you know, if it's a suggestion that I think I can do, then I definitely will make that happen for you. So yeah, be sure to leave your comments, suggestions, feedback down below, and if you aren't subscribed, make sure you hit that subscribe button. So I am 8-Bit Josh, and thanks for watching. See ya.